Hey guys, I'm back. If you watched my last video, it was on cron and some stuff you want to run for your ZFS, or even if you just have disks, and it's for Linux, for Unix, for whatever you're running. Some cron jobs you probably want to be running if you have any disks with smart enabled, which is any newer disk pretty much. You know, USB sticks don't have smart, but SSDs and hard drives both have smart, and you should utilize it if you can. And run it as a smart as cron, because you don't want to have to deal with that in the future. You just set it and just let it do it on its own. And eventually set up some monitoring so you don't have to check if something breaks and wait till someone calls you and says their router isn't working. So I did a little bit of cron and ZFS and smart tests. Now let's move on to some of the other stuff I have here. DHCP, let's see, is there anything to show with that? Yeah, DHCP, this is one thing you want to do. So on each of your internal networks, so I have LAN and WLAN. These are two different NICs that I have on my sister's PfSense box. You can put MAC addresses on here and then IP addresses. So what I do is I go on status, I go DHCP leases. So I connect all my stuff as I would. I'll see that whenever I connect a server or a computer in the house, I'll see it on here. I'll see that it got an IP address. By default, everything will just get an IP address, like a dynamic one. Oh, battery's dying on my phone. Yeah, by default it'll get a dynamic one. So what you do is you then go on the MAC address, you can click it, and I think you can just set a static. No, you can't. Well, you could just copy it here, and then you can go to DHCP server. You can go to the interface it connects to, so LAN or wireless LAN for me, and then you can just add something. So here I have a web server behind my PfSense box. I added its thing. I added what IP address I wanted. You probably don't want to put this in your dynamic range, which for my case would be 100 to 199, because it could clash with stuff. So I put it as 3. So unless someone else asks for 3, then there wouldn't be clashes. Then you put a host name you want. This could be the same that the box runs or whatever. Oh, what the heck? I don't want to do that. You can put a description too. So that's DHCP. What that does is it puts all your boxes in a certain spot based on their network card, which is important because you don't want to be randomly a service goes down because something changed their dynamic IP. Yeah, so any like servers, any even if you have like a desktop that you leave on for remote desktop, like you randomly, like Chrome remote desktop or whatever, make sure you set it as a static IP. It'll just make your life simpler. Sorry, my throat is I'm a little bit sick. Okay, so DNS. I've showed DNS before, but let me just show. DNS forwarder this is the one by default that's set up in the current version of PfSense. The only option I have set in here that's different is I have this additional addn-hosts equals and this. So what this is a host file. So if some of you might have heard host files before, basically what it is it's a list of host names like google.com, and then after that you put an IP address. And what you can do is, basically what that does is instead of having to go out on the internet, find a DNS server, ask what's google.com's IP address, and then get the IP and then connect to the IP, it'll just get the local version. So what this does is on your local network, when they ask for DHCP, like earlier, when they ask for an IP address, the DHCP server is going to say, oh, here's the default DNS server if you want to use a DNS server. And the default DNS server is also going to have this option, which you can set here. And this option will say use this host file, add this host file. And what that does is it means that whenever a computer on your network is using the default DNS server, asks for whatever host you have in this host file, it'll get an address here. Now what I do that's pretty cool is I have a script that I set up on here, I have set in cron, which will go to I forgot what website, some ad blocker website, and it will download a host file that has a bunch of ad sites, and it downloads those, and then it puts an IP, and then I have some commands in there that edits the IP to change to whatever IP I want. And then basically what that does is it goes, say the site is ads.com, and it's an ad site that website specifically blocks. Well, I download a host file that blocks that. I change that IP to, in my case, 192.168 2.1, I believe. And what that does is I then connect to that IP, and what I have running is a web server called PixelServe, and all it does is it sends a single transparent pixel. So, for example, I'm not on the local network right now, so I can't show it, but I've showed it before. If you go to like youtube.com, there's a big banner on the top. That's now a transparent pixel. You saved a bunch of bandwidth, and there's less likely on some sites, you're less likely to get like random pop-ups and things that could send viruses to like a Windows computer or whatever. You're less likely to just get that in general. There are some cases where it breaks stuff, and what you can tell the user is, oh, just don't use the default DNS. Use Google's DNS. It'll work. So you just walk them through setting that up, and then just say, but in general, use the default DNS. Like after you're done, just disable that and just use whatever DHCP gives you by default. Because in general, you want to use the default because this caches the first 10,000 requests by default, so it's kind of cool. That's an option just built into PfSense. It'll cache 10,000 requests I think in memory. So in memory on your thing. So if one computer asks for Google.com, it gets your thing, your PfSense box caches that request, and then another computer asks for Google.com. It doesn't even have to go out to Google's DNS server. It just gets it locally. You save bandwidth and you saved some time. So it can speed up stuff dramatically. And a lot of routers, like DDWRT, will have that enabled. It's just if you don't have enough RAM, then that might be a problem. The RAM, it doesn't take much RAM at all. So most newer routers, it'll be fine to do that caching. But like older routers, they a lot of times they don't cache at all. So that was a DNS mask. And what I do, let me show you just real quick. Cron. I might show the script in the future. And also PixelServe, I had to compile myself for FreeBSD. It was written for Linux, and it doesn't compile on FreeBSD instantly. It's written in C. So I had to comment out 2 lines or 3 lines, and then it compiled and it runs perfectly. And all it does is it runs on whatever port you set. I set it by port 80, and you connect to it, and it just blocks it. So HTTPS ads, I think, show errors, but HTTP ads are just blank pixels. You don't see anything. So this is the script I have run. And I just set it in cron to every Sunday at 5 minutes after midnight. It downloads the latest host file that site put up. I forgot what the site is. And I'll show that script in the future. Some people are into that kind of ad blocking, and I am on the network level. If you need to use it, like a user needs to see those ads or they're blocking something on their site, then something they need to get to, then you can just tell them to not use the default DNS server. Okay, UPnP, I talked about that earlier. I'm not going to show that. NTP, I'll show that real quick. NTP, what's cool? Okay, here you can see barely I have these 2 interfaces highlighted. I guess all you can do here is highlight any interfaces or alias IPs you have. Yeah, okay, well. My throat's dying here. Yeah, so basically if you have anything behind the network on those, so for example, let me show this real quick. This is my DDWRT this is my DDWRT wireless access point behind the PfSense box. Let's see if it can kind of get some focus. And you can see here on services, is it services or? Yeah, well basically in servers in general, their time might be synced to an NTP box or it might not. And you can see here time 20:31:55. Let me see if I can find it. It might actually just be in setup. Yeah, I think it is setup. Yeah, so what I have it set, let me show from the beginning. I have it set so this guy, if you go under System General Setup, you can set the NTP time servers here. And this is the one that's on here by default. You can change that if you want. And then you can have DNS servers. These are the 2 Google DNS servers that you might want to use. Also, there's OpenDNS. You probably don't want to use your ISPs. They'll do weird stuff to you. So, in general, I avoid that kind of stuff. But I set that so this will connect to the PfSense's NTP server. You can use any NTP server. So this is constantly connecting out to the web, getting the exact time within milliseconds. And then this one you can set, and right here, you can see. You can do NTP things, and I put, 192.168.2.1. That's my LAN IP address of my PfSense box. You can also put the UTC setting. So I'm -8 right now. Oh, my battery's about to die on my phone. So -8, and then you can set the summer daylight savings time, second Sunday in March through first Sunday in November. I think that's for anywhere in the U.S. And then this is specific to California, Pacific zone. And what this does is you'll see these times, I've checked them before, they're within the second, exactly the same. And before they weren't. They would, sometimes it would be a couple seconds off. So once you set that, this DWRT will connect to the other guy. Sorry, I'm going to connect to my charger. Let me see if I can do this while recording. Yeah. I hope this helps some of you guys with general PfSense settings that might be useful. Some of these are more server stuff, some are more stuff that just in general, most of these are things everybody wants to know. Yeah, so that's just DWRT connected behind PfSense. NTP, what else is the next on the list? Let's see if it'll focus. NUT. So this is if you have it on a UPS. So I have this connected to UPS by USB. You can see there the UPS is under 21% load. Model, oh yeah, I guess it gets the model. And then battery charge 100%. Remaining runtime 22 minutes. Yeah. Okay, so all I did here was I added this which is just a name, you can put whatever you want. Backup UPS ES, because it's an ES model, which is one of the crappier APC models. I got it from Staples. And then auto USB only. So in general, I get the USB ones because they're cheap ones you can just get from the store. I get them for like $45-50. Hooked it up, and it's good enough for her network for now. Hopefully that battery doesn't die anytime soon. All right, so that's NUT. That's for UPS, and then it works. Squid. So now this is one a lot of people get PfSense boxes specifically to run Squid. And what it is, it's a proxy server, a local proxy server. So you connect to the internet. Instead of getting right to the internet, you go through the proxy server. The proxy server can cache stuff for you, like images, CSS, anything. So the settings for here is proxy server. Okay, and I'll show this stuff. So in general here, you want to highlight LAN, any other interfaces you have, local ones. I have LAN and WLAN done. Transparent, I checked that. I'm not sure if that one's unchecked in general, but check that, and that way you don't have to do any of the firewall settings yourself. I think everything else in general I left. I put this in just so it shows it. Okay. Oh, this is another one you want to do, local cache. So here you can set, left those alone. External cache managers, hard disk. Here you can set how many megabytes to cache on disk. I set it to cache 100 megabytes or 100,000 megabytes, so 100 gigs. My root disks, which is holding the PfSense install, are 500 gig disks, so 100 gigs is a small portion of them. You can do this setting, which is to change performance stuff. I haven't really looked into it. I have it saved on var squid cache. You can change this, so like say I wanted to save it on my media disks, I could change that there. But I think it's still better performance pulling from a local disk than pulling from the internet. Maximum object size, I increased this a lot, so this allows larger size files to be saved on disk. Memory, cache size, so if you have a lot of memory, you might want to increase this as well. Yeah, so it's about all for that, but yeah. Real time, this is kind of cool. You can see logs on Squid, see what people are connecting to. You can see a bunch of people connecting to Yahoo right now. And Netflix, huh? Yeah, okay, interesting. Kind of weird. You can actually, I'm not going to show you too much on it, but you can also install the package, I think it's called Light Squid, and you can go under status, proxy reports, and you can go, you have to set this up, and set up a refresh schedule, and then after every 60 minutes it will make a report. You can go to Light Squid report, and then it'll generate these kind of pages. You can click on a day, and you can see what percent it cached. So you can see a very low percentage, but it doesn't matter because this thing it's only caching 0.1% this day of stuff was actually hitting the cache instead of the internet. So 1 out of every 1,000 bytes was actually saved in bandwidth. It's barely making a difference, and that's because you don't have that many users. The higher amount of users you have, the more likely they'll be hitting the same sites. If you have one user, they're going to be hitting different sites a lot. They're not going to be refreshing the same site 50 times a day. But if you have 100 people, they're all hitting google.com, facebook.com, whatever, multiple times a day. So this will show you how much bandwidth was going through Squid, and also, the hit rate and everything. It's very interesting. You can split it by users, and if you set up static IPs for each user, then you can kind of see what sites they're visiting. I'll show a little bit, but I don't want to go into people's privacy. I'll do the this is the unless they're watching porn on here, but this is the HTPC. So you can send porn to it actually pretty easily, but this is running XBMC. But I don't know if they know how to do that very easily. So anyway, this is the you can see YouTube. It went to all these sites, right? So it's kind of cool. You can look at the sites, but if you go to like any of these other IPs that are on the network, you'll see other, more sites, because usually they're desktops that connect to tons of stuff. Alright, so that's Squid. There's a lot more you could show Squid. Varnish, I'm not going to go over. Oh man, my throat is dying. But anyway, yeah, you can click on, this video is almost 20 minutes as well. You can click on packages, and this is where you can install, these are my installed packages. I have cron. Actually, cron is installed by default, but this just adds a GUI, so you can add your own cron jobs. Light Squid, which is a reporting for Squid. Nut for UPS's. RRD summary, I'll show that in a second. Shell command is you can run commands on startup. I'll show that as well. Squid 3, so this is the newer version of Squid. In my estimation, it's worked fine. And you can click on available packages and install just a plethora of stuff. They have to rework this stuff once the newer version of PfSense comes out to use the PBIs instead. So that's going to be a ton of work, but for those developers, I haven't made any packages for PfSense yet, but I might in the future fix up some stuff. Okay, let me show RRD summary. So this is the packaging. So you can go under RRD graphs, and this is by default is here, and this is pretty cool. It shows just RRD graphs of everything. So traffic, this is probably the most interesting one. So you can click it, you can click, which interface, WAN, obviously I don't care about local network too much. It shows, these are, anything above this horizontal line is downloads, anything below it is uploads. So you can see there's not much uploaded, Now, there is some interesting stuff actually. If you look here, I set up a game server, a man versus machine server for a couple days, and you can see when those are set up because I had a bunch of uploaded. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting that it just shows gigantic uploads those days. So it was constantly pushing stuff to the man versus machine users. Yeah, it's kind of cool. You can show. The only bad thing is, and you can change, inverse. You can change the time span, and there's other crap you can look at here. But it's hard to kind of read like, oh, how much bandwidth did I use last month? Well, that's what RRD summary does. Is it just gives you an interface that just says, what day do you start your bandwidth usage? What interface you want to look at? Oh crap! I'll go back to what I was looking at. Okay, and you can see last month we downloaded 663 gigs and we uploaded 68 gigs. And then this month so far we've downloaded 266 gigs and we've uploaded 27 gigs. So RRD summary is a pretty cool package. And finally, services shell commands. So this lets you run commands on startup. I might have showed this in the past. Actually, I'm not sure. But, oh yeah, if this goes with the other video. But if you have ZFS, you want to start the ZFS service. PfSense doesn't use, I talked about this in the hardware video too, it doesn't use a regular FreeBSD init. You need to make sure that you actually start your services. You enable them in etc-rc.conf.local. You need to, do service ZFS enable equals yes or something. But I mean ZFS underscore enable equals yes. but you also need to actually start it because it doesn't use the FreeBSD init, so you need to actually start the services. So I have service ZFS start. I have that run as an early shell command. That means it runs, I think, pretty early on. Pixel serve, this is the binary that runs that web server that I was telling you about. That's just a transparent pixel. I have just run as a regular shell command. Service easyjail.sh start media jail. So this is a jail that I'm running on. I might show that in the future. I might not. And then I'm running NFS on here because this is also sharing out to all the XBMC boxes in the house through NFS. You can't do that in a jail because it's a very low level. So that service RCP bind start and service NFSD start and service mount D start. So I run all three of those. And then you also have service squid start. I noticed a bug where like you start it and it doesn't start squid. And I'm not sure if they did that on purpose, but I just started anyway. And now if you reboot the box, squid will start up. So I noticed it wasn't like if you reboot this thing, squid wouldn't start. And I'm not sure if that's a bug in the package or what. But just having that command in there fixed it, and everything's, you can reboot as many times as you want. Everything starts up perfectly. So yeah, that's PfSense in a nutshell. At least my install at my sister's house. I'll install this in my own house, and it'll be more. I don't know. It'll be pretty much fairly similar. Maybe a little more server stuff. And I don't have my media drives on here. I have a separate, FreeNAS box which I have set up. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions, just leave it in the comments. I check it once a week or stuff. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, just ask me. See you guys.